Welcome to our Sunday morning meditation service. The word for today is compassion. Sometimes just a prayerful thought or simple blessing can make a powerful difference in someone's life. Other times, I may be able to take more direct action. I may listen to someone deeply as they have the concerns of their heart. Or I may volunteer to drive them somewhere or complete errands for them. Regardless of the form any compassion action takes, I am motivated to be of sacred service, to bring the love and care of God into manifest form through my decisive action. The daily word has been around since the turn of the century, and so many people start their day with it. It is just an incredible way to just get centered. But we're going to do a chant right now that's going to help us get centered. And just relax, and it's really very simple. We have the sitar with Forrest, the tabla with Louis, and then Larry on piano or synthesizer. Okay. I am in your presence. Cleanse and purify my mind. I am one with all. I am one with all. Kindness and love flows through me. I see only love. Where there is love, there's peace. I can feel your presence. Cleanse and purify my heart. There's a soundproof room back there if you want to take them in. I am one with all.
Good morning, everyone. Again, this morning, I will be speaking about the shortest and most enjoyable path to the enlightened life, or awareness, which is the same. The enlightened life is the enlightened awareness. So I'll be speaking about entering into a state of consciousness that could be referred to as true love. And that state of consciousness is one that establishes a harmony and a peace that is beyond the comprehension of the mind still operating in the limited worldly awareness. So I'd like to begin with this true story, universally true story in the Bible. And we have this on the PowerPoint. You can read this in Luke 22, verses 24 to 27. A dispute also arose among them, the disciples, which of them was to be regarded as the greatest. And he, the master, said to them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called great. But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the least, and the leader as one who serves. For which is the greater, one who sits at the table or one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. Can we have this back again, please? A dispute arose among them, the disciples, which of them was to be regarded as the greatest. And he, the master, said to them, the kings of the Gentiles, that is the outer-directed, worldly involved, exercise lordship over one another, actually. And those in authority over them are called great. But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the least, and the leader as one who serves. For which is the greater, one who sits at the table or one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at the table according to the world that you grew up in, were educated in? But I am among you as one who serves. Drawing the distinction between the two states of consciousness. It's normal when we begin the spiritual journey to think in terms of it providing those advantages in the material world that we believe will bring us peace of mind, happiness, and a good life. But the masters are attempting to relate the necessity for an internal transformation in consciousness, without which one cannot live effectively, beautifully, joyfully, harmoniously. So this again is simply one of those examples. Who is considered the greatest among you in the world? The greatest among you is the one who sits at the table, the one who rules. But I am among you as one who has and does serve. And that is why the spiritual journey has one of the most feared ideas in the whole Western culture: surrender. The necessity for one to enter into an understanding of surrender which of course goes against the grain, especially on this day when we're all hyped about the coming Superbowl this afternoon, in which winning is everything. Winning is a lust in the Western culture. Striving to win. And in our Western culture, the majority of people are striving in life and can't seem to find how to be fully happy, complete within themselves, wise, understanding, spontaneous, capable of flowing with conditions and circumstances regardless, because they are no longer trapped in the illusionary definition of life of being a separate body-mind controlled by a separate illusionary ego. Sometimes my voice isn't in the best shape when I get here because I have to walk my dog. And some of you have seen him. He is just hyper. And he hasn't learned to listen yet to me. So he hasn't surrendered himself. And when I take him out early in the morning, I have to let him go, or he won't do his duty. In the woods, I live in the woods, but getting him back, I have to yell for him and persuade him to come back. People have seen him around. He's a prehistoric beagle. Anyway, the difference between these two states of consciousness can be clearly seen when they are brought in a contest against each other. I cut this article out of the newspaper, which is, the headline is, "Beyond the Unthinkable." Oh, yes. Yes, the unthinkable has occurred. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs have been set up not to play in the Super Bowl against each other. But the NFL has put together a team of Tibetan monks who wouldn't hurt a flea play against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And the fans would surely be disillusioned to the core if such a game could be arranged and people watched the team of monks using humility as their only tactic. Sunday defeat the proud Philadelphia Eagles. Just one such game would convince everyone of the power of humility over pride as they watched each running play by the Eagles brought down on the scrimmage line in 4 feet of mud. And every pass play by the Eagles, the football struck by lightning, while the monks on the offense levitate downfield and score touchdown after touchdown. This is kind of a madness. It's the kind of things that happen to you when you've been giving talks for 40 years. So it's up to me then to reveal to you the advantages of surrender. And that's not something that will come to a person simply by the words of another. It comes only by an incremental giving into the practice of surrender to the moment, to the now experience, which is, according to Eckhart Tolle and the masters before him, the only moment. Everything that takes place in the now. If you're bringing up the past, it's taking place in the now. If you're bringing up the future, it's taking place in the now. And so we keep ourselves from experiencing that presence in the now. That's where faith and this practice of surrender take place, so that one can experience something one has seldom ever experienced. The joy, the peace, the freedom, and the insight of wanting nothing more than to be awake fully in the moment. So we thought heaven was off somewhere, in some distant place beyond the stars, perhaps. Or at least for many people, they think it's off somewhere on some distant day when they'll figure it out. But to find our way into heaven requires a devotion to spiritual practice that would have us surrender the illusionary prompting of the mind by the ego, to be wrapped up in considerations and concerns of the past, or fears and wants and desires for the future. Can you imagine that? What did we think? What did we think all the years that we were being raised by this insane society, an insane world, which has grown so insane now? It's so on edge right now, and everybody knows it. What did we think? The way to true life, created by a true creator who wanted only benevolence, justice, and love to prevail in the Creator's creation. That's it. God created that, wants that, set it up, and has a plan for that. Anyone who wants to enter into that will have to take to task his or her own awareness. You find meditation, a little bit of meditation, 20 minutes a day, too much to do. You have too much to get done by the world that's calling to you over and over again. If that's your life and you think you can make it that way, do that as long as you can, because the day is coming when you will not be able to handle it. Why don't you enter now the teachings of the masters down through the ages? Be still and know the moment in which you find yourself is the moment in which you are in the presence of God and heaven, and you will know it. So there's the necessity for personal transformation. Again, I said, if you really still think it's out there and you can put it together out there, collect it enough, get enough people to honor your personal opinions, and get a hold of enough, I don't know, money, prestige, power, go for it. But as you go for it, be awake. And you will discover it cannot be accomplished. I mean, all you have to do is look at the newspapers or the news and see these people that have really attained everything materially you could think of wanting. And so many of them are overdosing on drugs, going to rehabilitation centers, because it's not there. So, again, this whole concept is related so clearly and beautifully by Master Eckhart Tolle. Let's have this PowerPoint. From his book, Stillness Speaks, page 68, paragraphs 1 and 2. And you should know what surrender really means, you see, because the guy writing this is a multimillionaire, has all the kinds of prestige and everything you could possibly gain from the world. But he didn't gain it by going after the world. He gained it by surrendering to the divine awareness that guides his life. Surrender becomes so much easier when you realize the fleeting nature of all experiences and that the world cannot give you anything of lasting value. You then continue to meet people, to be involved in experiences and activities, but without the wants and fears of the egoic self. That is to say, you no longer demand that a situation, person, place, or event should satisfy you or make you happy. Its passing and imperfect nature is allowed to be. And the miracle is that when you are no longer placing an impossible demand on it, every situation, person, place, or event becomes not only satisfying, but also more harmonious, more peaceful. This whole concept of the passing nature of all experience should be the convincing note to us that nothing can be collected from the world and sustained. It's always passing and it's always changing. So there has to be another way to find how to live effectively or in accordance with the way life actually works. And that comes by letting go of the ego illusion of separation and fear, which impels us to seek in the world. And the miracle is that when you are no longer placing an impossible demand on the present moment, every situation, person, place, or event becomes not only satisfying, but also more harmonious, more peaceful. Is there another part to this? Okay. In short, it requires a spiritual practice in which, and this is a simple way to do it, in which to monitor your mind so that you are being mindful whenever you are not experiencing peace. So that you're allowing the world and the mind to take you out of being, listen to it, it'll never go away. Listen, could you do this? Could you be absolutely okay, regardless of circumstances? Not put asunder, not made angry, not made insane or fearful, but could you just be okay with circumstances as they are? Surrendered to being appropriate to whatever they require of you. Because that is the spiritual calling. And that's what we are about doing. And that's what brings us into a state of consciousness which could be defined as unconditional love. Your mind, your awareness, immediately operates in a level where it has no grievances. Imagine if you haven't been there, some of you have been there and are there. But if you haven't been there, imagine a day without a single negative grievance about something or other. You don't have any grievances. You're allowing each moment to be whatever each moment is. And then you find yourself feeling good, feeling God, being love. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? This is Scott Morrison from his book, Open and Innocent. Love is by its own nature unconditional. It has no possessions or attachments. It is not in pursuit of anything, and therefore does not fear anything. It has no dependencies, it does not cling to anything, and is therefore without frustration, envy, anger, jealousy, disappointment, or sorrow. It is freedom. Love is by its own nature unconditional. It has no possessions or attachments. It is not in pursuit of anything, and therefore serves the moment. Does not fear anything, because it has no attachments, no fears. It has no dependencies. It does not cling to anything, and is therefore without frustration, envy, anger, jealousy, disappointment, or sorrow. It is freedom. I've had so many interesting opportunities with people and situations that came to my rescue out of a higher level. You can read about them in my book, Escape to Another Reality, about my life. This morning I want to share one with you that took place the first year I was in the ministerial school. And in the ministerial school they have a couple of really strong edicts that go down. You may not get in trouble in which you would somehow besmirch the name of unity. Well, I was working in a low-income housing project with my wonderful, dedicated wife, Norma. We had one child already, and we had this broken-down Chevy Vega automobile. And while I was at school one day, the engine blew up. And when I brought this up to a couple of people who I wanted to get a ride back to the housing complex where I had to go to work, I met a student I hadn't even known or befriended or been with. His name was Frank Kaler. He said, "What happened to your car?" I said, "Oh, it's done. It's done. The engine's blown up." He said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And that was on a Friday, Saturday. I said, "Well, on a Saturday, I only work a half a day, starting in the afternoon." He said, "Okay, look, tomorrow morning, I'm going to have your car towed to this garage where I have my brother actually works, and he can let us use one of the bays." "What?" He said, "We're going to change the engine in your car." This is not just a favor. This is an entire day's work for somebody you don't even know. And so we have to go to the junkyard to find a Vega engine that's operative. And we go to the junkyard, Frank and I, and we find a Vega there, amazing, and the guy comes over to help us. We're going to take this engine, put it in the back of his pickup truck, and the guy with the, they've got this crane that comes over, and the way they do it is after they release the engine in the car, the crane picks the engine up and moves it and puts it in your truck. Well, while they were about to do this, the one guy on the ground who wasn't in the crane, working the crane, starts to cut the wires. And Frank says, "Oh, no, don't cut the wires. I have to disconnect them. So I have to know. I don't please." And the guy just went ahead and he's cutting wires again. And Frank said, hey, you cut another wire, I'm going to make you eat it. And I turned to Frank and I said, "Frank," I said, "I know you've heard that I've grown up on the wrong side of the tracks, and I have a reputation for growing up in a bad neighborhood, and had a lot of fights." I said, "But Frank, all of my fights were with people that I could easily see were skinny and undernourished. These two guys look like they live in the gym. Do you believe I said that? I don't know why I can't get a laugh out of you. That's a funny line. But really, Frank did say that. I'll make you eat that wire. And the guy paused, and we looked as tough as we possibly could, and they left the wires alone. We went over, disconnected all the wires to the engine. They lifted it up, put it in his truck. We went back and spent the entire day putting that engine into my car. So that's like one of many experiences I've had. When people, you talk about the extra mile, you talk about stepping beyond the ego-centered idea of me and how important my life, my moments, my hours are. Here's somebody that actually lived in the divine awareness, operated from the divine awareness. I'm going to finish this with a quote from A Course in Miracles. If you didn't get anything else today, you could take this with you. This is the whole burrito right here. Can we have this next PowerPoint? Where are you?
It's not there.
Number 4 is not there? Okay. Now either I can do this from memory, or I can just let it be. That enough has been said. So I'm taking it there. Enough has been said. We're going to take a moment to meditate together. And while we do that, we're going to listen to the beautiful tones of this crystal bowl. And as we get into this, see if you can embrace this ideal. See if you can embrace this ideal and meditate upon it. Love's healing vision dissolves all false ego impressions. Now all is God. Now all is good. Now all is love. Close your eyes and embrace this. Love's healing vision dissolves all false ego impressions. Now all is God. Now all is good. Now all is love. go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space, let us go forth awake in the process of living, honoring the now moment, experiencing the peace and joy of surrender. For this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. As we are preparing to do that, I'd like to point out to those who are watching this live stream, you have these different methods in which you can donate to Unity of Boulder and keep the truth flowing into this community from Unity. And again, I'm always going to invite you to show up in person because it's a different experience. There's more energy being shared on a level beyond the mental or the words. So, everyone here, as we take our offerings into our hands, and those of you who bring to mind that financial gift you'd like to make to Unity of Boulder, let's bless them with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. So it is. Tisha will be speaking at 11 o'clock in the next service. You may want to stay and enjoy some of the refreshments we have in Fellowship Hall and come to the second service. We will have our discussion group, which takes place about 8 minutes after the service for me to get over there. And we will have an open discussion on anything you want to discuss on the dance floor. In the meantime, also, keep your heartfelt prayers going for our neighbors who are trapped in Syria from the earthquake. And so keep our heartfelt prayers going for them and even the survivors who have lost loved ones and their families. So that is our prayer going out to Turkey and Syria. Amen.